So may I invite our two panelists who are here with us, Dr. Ethel Agnes and Professor Ojat. The first question, and I think this is based on the experience of Professor Ojat being a part of an open university. What do you think are two major factors which you have observed in your own university, in Universitas Terbuka, which contributed to the sustainability of your university? I mean, in this time wherein many open universities are closing, and we have witnessed that, not necessarily closing, but adopting a hybrid model, face-to-face, online, or distance education. What do you think are the factors which contributed to the sustainability of your own university? And later, the same question to Dr. Ethel, based on your observation, because you've been working with higher education sector also, your own observation as to what are these critical factors which contribute to the sustainability of higher education.
Yeah, I think the best factor, or one of the best factors, is actually to stay relevant and responsive to the needs of the times. So we cannot be outdated. We could not, tighten up our hold on the past of everything, but we should always move towards the future. So put more emphasis on sustainability, internationalization, and better governance. We also need to adjust our own structure in higher education institutions. Some still do not have like international affairs office or knowledge management office as such. So it's whole review of the entire higher education structure, higher education institution. And to be updated and relevant, we should also take a look at the curriculum, find out if there are new courses that we can offer, and those which are not actually generating a lot of funds and generating a lot of unemployed Filipinos, then probably phase them out. So being relevant, being very responsive, yeah.
Relevance of the curriculum. Okay. Yes, Professor Ojat.
There are some components contributing the sustainability of my university, but the major one is about the government policy.
Okay.
And the government policy is very a very important factor in my country. Only has been decided as just the only one, state university implementing a distant higher education system, implementing single mode distant learning system. So it's one of the major factor in that's why our university is sustained until now. And the second one would be about as the open university, we try to implement a very we call it about tuition fee is very cheap. So all the people, needy people, have a capacity to study in my.
Yeah.
You know that in developing country there are many Indonesian people from a middle class. They are looking for study, and in face-to-face university or conventional university, tuition fee mostly very high, very expensive. And UT can provide just only about 35,000. It means about of 10 cents US dollar for SKS for credit. So it's very cheap. That's why we can have offering our study program to all people in Indonesia.
So
But
access.
we try to maintain the quality.
Yes, access with quality. Access because the tuition is low compared to other universities, but at the same time, and I have noticed that in your presentation, the various accreditation validating the quality of education that you're offering really are important factors that we can say contribute to the sustainability of your university. Yes, yes. Thank you very much for that, Professor
And
Ojat.
also, I have a dream actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, I would like to add something here. It
Yes.
is our dream in our future. We can offer our study program to all people in Indonesia. They can get study in university for free. This is my dream. And I would like to ask to our government to provide funding for our operational resources, not to the students. This is our proposal. We will
Mhm.
try to propose to our government. So
Yeah.
all operational activities should be financed by the government, not by students
Okay. So
in the future.
in that regard, the Philippines is luckier because we have our RA 10931, which is the which provides really free access to tertiary education for those who are studying at the government-funded institution. So we were able to achieve your dream here in the Philippines. Okay, so yeah. So there's another question here for Director Ethel. It says here, even before the pandemic, ICT has already become a huge leader in terms of energy emission. And during post-pandemic, its environmental impact is growing massively. How can you reconcile the fact that digital learning as a way forward won't impede international efforts to combat various environmental concerns? So it's the digital the impact on the environment of the digital activities that we are doing, and how are we going to balance that with this internationalization effort which concerns environmental conservation. So how are we gonna address this somehow opposing concerns?
Thank you very much for that very, very hard question. Actually, we just completed our ESD Award, Education for Sustainable Development competition and awards. 174 institutions joined that. And it's all about climate change. And, yes, I agree that digital technologies are part of the climate change problem. And of course, it's also for us to know that all of these e-waste, the mobile phones that are not used and all of those small, small parts, they keep on piling up. And it's not just that, but also the different materials that are needed to produce the mobile phones. They're also contributing to all of these e-waste. However, what we are resolving now is we are in the pandemic. And if we don't do all of these classes online,
Yeah.
we will never address the learning gaps and the learning lost.
Yeah.
And there will be a continuing learning poverty. So all of these are very important topics. It's a good topic for debate.
Yeah.
So what do you want? Learning poverty, learning loss, generation loss who do not know anything, or so I think it's really a good topic for the next discussion. But I'm also conscious of different governments signing, all of these protocols and ensuring that there will be changes and a bit of adoption of a more sustainable and friendly utilization of digital technologies.
Yes.
So, well, the technology's direct impact on environment would have gains and would have losses. But I'm sure when we weigh them both together, governments will really still promote continuity of learning. So we don't want the loss of generation who are out of school and will continue to be unemployable. So there are solutions, there are recycling, there are all of those campaigns, and I think we can have a better solution to this. Thank you so much.
And there are also green technologies. I mean, there are also discussions about the green technologies. So probably that also deserve a closer look. Okay. Thank you very much, Director Ethel. There's one question here, and I would like to address this to Professor Ojat. Given the digital divide, the digital exclusion, which I think is also true in your country, how do you think what would this still play, the digital, the online education, just like what we're doing in open universities? Would this also play a major role when we want to look at sustainable higher education?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Actually, the acceleration for digital movement has been already discussed in many very quite intensive in my country during and after COVID-19. So mostly now, not only distant higher education, but also conventional universities try to develop their digital learning ecosystem.
Mhm.
And this is also in my plan for the trend for the future and offering our distant higher education to the people in Indonesia and also for Indonesian citizen living overseas. We
Yes.
develop a digital learning ecosystem. So
Mhm.
all the program and also our internal management, we would like to use implementing different kind of application to support our internal management, also to support our learner support services.
Yeah.
For all printed learning material, so we develop now digital learning materials, and also for the different kind of learner support services. We develop different kind of super apps to the, but not only for our student, but also we have a support. We have support from the government, from the Ministry of Education,
Yes.
uh, as my university to develop the foreign kind of digital ecosystem to provide service to not only for Indonesian students, but not only for UT students, but also for conventional university students. So it is very very demanding time for us, for Indonesian Open University, to support our government to provide digital learning ecosystem nationally. That's why currently our government as my university to develop a marketing gallery for online learning digital learning ecosystem.
Nice. Yes.
We
Yes.
call it Indonesian Cyber Education Institute.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Ojat. This last one question is for Director Ethel, and I think this is also related to the one that I asked Professor Ojat, all about connectivity. Um, there are HEIs in far-flung provinces where connectivity is a challenge. So, can Dr. Ethel recommend better options and interventions that would still ensure that there will be the transfer of knowledge to the students despite the problem in connectivity, and you are all familiar with this situation also in the Philippines.
Yes,
Interventions, yes.
thank you very much, Dr. Mel. It's not just a problem of the Philippines, but the
No.
whole the whole world, and even in Southeast Asia, where
I know.
I recall from the minister sharing, of course, even Singapore would have to use different types
Yes.
of modalities for bringing learning and having learning continuity. So, well, from the lessons from the Southeast Asian ministers, they have used different modalities for teaching and learning. Like, for example, for rural areas in Laos and rural areas in Malaysia, they use modules. Like us in the Philippines, they
Yes.
use modules, and online and offline learning are made available. That
Yes.
these are the new ways of learning. You have to see the context and the fit. And
Yeah.
some are using, for example, in Timor Leste, they don't really have access to mobile technology. They use SMS based teaching and learning. Following up, teachers use text or mobile. So there are many ways. And if you see in the history of the Philippines, early on, 1950s, we're using distance learning already. And this is by modules. This is by materials delivered to your home. And
Yes.
I think, what is best in 1960s, 70s, they use radio and television broadcast. Our
Yes.
alternative learning system right now, they utilize radio and broadcast. And in this time of pandemic, all countries in the
Yes.
region that I know of, both of them, they utilize radio and television. But
Yes.
what is different from Cambodia or Vietnam, they got the best teachers to teach. They record them and broadcast them live. And I
Yes.
see that as well in Thailand. So all of these are very good ways of reaching out to the learners, that they can access your classes in television channels, local, Well, we have local television channels in the Philippines. I see that. And, this is a collaboration between university and the television stations that can be best done by partnership. In this time of pandemic, a lot of that happened. The ministries of education, ministries of ICT, Ministry of Health, they collaborated. And the solution is promote learning continuity in different ways. It's not just all of this online modules being delivered in villages. There are also SMS-based learning, assessment by text, Google Forms, so many. So the thing is that there should be instructional designers who can advise the presidents of HEIs with what is the best fit. Can we sign up? I saw when we visited some distance education universities, when as a technical panel of distance education and transnational education, we have visited some distance education universities, and they have connection with radio and television channels. They use that. So these are still, even if they're 70s and 60s, they are now revived in this time of pandemic.
I agree. Thank you very much, Director Ethel. Thank you very much, Professor Ojat, for this sharing this afternoon. It's just so happened that we have very limited time to devote to further discussion, but I am very thankful that you were able to join us in our open forum and answer the questions from our webinar participants, in addition to your very comprehensive presentations earlier. So thank you very much, and I hope that there will be other
Thank
occasions in the future that we can discuss this topic further. So thank you.